We at Columbia, we mirror kind of the population actually of our city and our institution. And so we talk about in our locker room, first and foremost, it's to be a safe environment. And as we go through the selection process, the reality is that our locker room is like Noah's Ark. We've got two of every kind. So we have players at Columbia and at past institutions that I've coached and institutions that I've played at, where we have players from all walks of life. And I'll tell you that at Columbia University, we will continue to recruit the top quality student athletes, whether they play high school soccer, or whether they play for a Region 1 team, or whether they play for an academy team. For me, in the evaluation process, it's about integrity. It's about the individual that you're getting. How can I help mentor this person to be the best person that I can be, that they can be? And then it's about how I look at them and their overall soccer knowledge. And I think that there are certain environments that are more conducive to certain individuals. And I think that it's a difficult decision. And I gotta be honest, I'm glad that I'm not a player during this point in time, because my high school days were amazing. I played for one of my greatest coaches in high school. He's a man that I would put up against any coach in the United States for the development that he had. But my goal, since I was little, was to be a pro. That's what I wanted. And to have to make that decision at this point in time, I think would be extremely, extremely difficult. But it is necessary. It's something that you're faced with. It is a choice for you to make. But at the end of the day, you do have to make a decision. And getting the right information for yourself is extremely important. I don't think that you're going to hear a college soccer coach on any panel tell you that whether you play academy or you play high school, that's going to determine that person's route to try to establish the best human beings and the best team that they can.
You raise a good point there, because part of it depends on who's sitting in the coach's chair at the time that you're making this decision.
Yeah, I hope I'm sitting in my chair for a little while longer. If you know something that I don't, we should talk.
Because these kids are looking across their spectrum of choice. I think a huge influence is who is coaching that program, and importantly, are they going to stay there? You know, you make a decision based on probably the coach as much as you do the actual program.
Yeah, I think you do, but I think that as we start to look at what U.S. Soccer is contemplating, and as we start to consider the commercial that the NCAA puts out, right, that a percentage of our student athletes are going to be pros in something other than their sport, I think that has to be taken into consideration. I think that the college selection process is an investment over 4 years for the next 50 years of your life, and I think that's the way that it should be viewed. There's a select few that go on, and not all of it is just about talent. There's a ton of talented guys that are playing high school soccer, playing club soccer, and there's a bunch of guys out there that aren't doing either. Now, that's not a selection process for us in college. However, all of us at the end of the day have had to hang up our shoes, and we've had to now turn towards another profession. And for me, and for what it is that I want to try to leave as a legacy at Columbia, it's about choices. And our players have choices every day. And unfortunately for you, this is coming a time for you where it's threatening. So I don't think there's a wrong choice. But I think for each of you, it's important for you to figure out which one is the right one for you. And so Coach Quinn talks about AP classes. Now, I went to Southern, so we didn't have AP classes at Southern. But I was talking to a student the other day, and just to go on top of your point, if you take an AP class, it's because you have the ability and the talent to push yourself at that level and that degree. But for a student who doesn't have that ability and that talent, if they take the AP class, they drown. The possibility is that if they took an honors class, they would have the opportunity to grow and to learn more in that class. And at the end of the day, enjoy the experience, and the outcome is greater than taking on something that's too much. And so, as the Academy has its identity and it has its mission, so do all of the other organizations that are here. And you have a great amount of choices. And I think if you take the time to find the resources to help you make that, I think each of you are going to make the right decision for you. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that you need to worry about. You should make the right decision for you.
Danny, you have tryouts every year, right? And you cut kids. At the end of the day, there's some that just aren't good enough. So what's the big deal? You lose a couple kids to an academy program, instead of crushing two kids' dreams, you're giving two kids that wouldn't have had the opportunity. Isn't it a net zero sum?
It's an absolutely valid point, but I want to reemphasize that as much as everyone talks about we need in America to develop better soccer players, I think there are a lot of ways to do that. To talk about that high school doesn't have reentry. You can play in a program that has reentry or not, but I would counter that a lot of high schools have a situation where somebody has to take a penalty kick or save a penalty kick in front of 2,000 or 3,000 people. They have to learn to become leaders on the field. They have to learn to deal with pressure in the school, walking into school the day after a loss. They have to learn how to deal with teammates, social situations, on and off the field. There are many ways to become a better soccer player, a better person, and a better leader. I've been to academy games where there's 20 or 30 people in the stands. They're playing a developmental program, and they're developing their skills, they're developing their tactics, but they're not necessarily doing it in pressure situations. They're not doing it where there's an outcome that you have to be responsible for with other people. High school really does serve a purpose. It serves a purpose for kids to become leaders, so that those 2 or 3 kids who you talked about, who might not matter if they don't play high school soccer, I think it does matter, because going back to what we said, the vast majority are not going to be professional players. So it's what you want out of your soccer experience. It's what you feel when you look back on it. Memories of, playing a championship match and walking into a diner and having people stand up and applaud because they're your classmates and your friends. That also is a way of developing as a soccer player. It's not right or wrong, but it's another option that, to me, is very important.
Steve, we make cuts at Farmington as well. The thing that over the last 30 years, I've had some elite players, none that have gone on to play on the Olympic team or national team. But I got to tell you, as a coach, that elite player is the guy that I really enjoy coaching. Not having that player on the team, it doesn't give me the everyday challenge that player has. Because that player's coming to training every day, he's teaching other players as well as I'm teaching him. And I'll take my elite player to the side and give him the next level of what he needs to do. And he takes that, and the other guys see that, and they try to aspire to that, okay? We've spent way too much time in this country coaching soccer and developing the generic player. Yeah, we have to get to the elite player, and maybe this is one way to do that, all right? But, guys like me really enjoy coaching that elite player. And as far as re-entry, Rick, in the game, the high school game is much different than the academy game. The high school game is extremely fast. Is it too fast for the sport? Yeah. Is it chaotic? Yeah. Is it too chaotic? Yeah. But that's why we have to have subs in the game. It's for, it's just so chaotic that guy needs a rest, okay? That's the truth of the matter, okay? Thank you.
We're going to have one more question for the panel and then open it up to anybody in the audience. And coming back to everybody's comment about we as a soccer nation need to get better. One of the MLS clubs recently, the Chicago Fire, announced that they expanded the Fire Academy program to include fully funded teams ranging from under 10 all the way up to under 18. So the Fire Academy development program went from 400 players to over 10,000 players across 7 states. that all these players will be on their homegrown player list. So Rick,